While we have tried to carry through a large development program, we have not taken adequate care to keep the rise in prices in check. We are being constantly told that a process of development is always accompanied by some rise in prices, but one has to distinguish between a mildly rising price level and a runaway inflation of the kind we have been noticing in the past 3 years. It has to be recognized that inflation is not a supernatural phenomenon which can be blamed on the gods. It is very much man-made, and the blame for allowing prices to rise as they have gone in the last 4 years must be placed squarely on the shoulders of the authorities. One of the unforeseen consequences of inflation is that, unlike taxation, it distributes the cost of development unevenly among various sections of the people. It hits particularly hard the fixed income earners whose incomes rarely manage to keep pace with the changes in prices. Much of the unrest that we have witnessed during the last 2 or 3 years is due to this phenomenon of rising prices. I might mention that in the process of development we have used up the foreign exchange reserves built up by the country during the Second World War, and since 1957-1558 we have been dependent upon foreign aid not only for meeting our requirements for capital goods but also for an appreciable part of our maintenance import requirements. Our total foreign exchange borrowing is already large, and the mere cost of servicing it is placed at 450 crore per annum during the fourth plan period. For one thing, this has made our economy vulnerable to changes in foreign aid policy, as the stoppage of aid consequent upon the Indo-Pakistan conflict showed. The World Bank president has warned about the tighter money conditions which have begun to appear in advanced countries. This, combined with a noticeable hardening of attitude to foreign aid in some countries, is likely to impair gradually the flow of foreign aid to developing countries including India. Secondly, aid receiving creates its own pressures and sensitives on politicians and government officials. Apart, it is necessary that aid is received consistent with national interests. Even then, given these factors, we have built up a large infrastructure of economic assets during the last 15 years. It is argued that if the country does not have sufficient liquid reserves, it has huge real assets to show for them. In industry, again, we have built up huge plants like the Heavy Engineering Corporation at Ranchi and the Heavy Electrical Plant at Bhopal, which we have not been able to use to their full capacity. We seem to have had a particular weakness to take up grandiose schemes which have not only taken long to mature but which we have not been able to use efficiently. In the post-devaluation period, the cruel dilemma that faces the government as well as the country is to achieve economic growth along with deflation, or to put it in another way, to secure development of agriculture and essential industries while holding the price line. This is by no means easy, and a highly selective approach is therefore essential for this purpose. In my aspects, the fourth plan starts out under rather inauspicious conditions. First, the bad agricultural season is likely to be followed by another which does not so far appear to be very favorable. Secondly, the price level at present prevailing is so high that there is considerable danger in letting it rise further. Thirdly, the aid prospects do not at present appear to be bright. Fourthly, there has been a noticeable tendency towards economic stagnation in the last few years. It is necessary to examine the fourth plan in the light of our past experience of planning and the present problems facing the country. As experience in India and other countries shows, agricultural extension is a long-term program and requires considerable organizational framework to become effective. In India, it is a problem of reaching millions of farmers and inducing them to adopt improved methods of cultivation. Examining the role of the service in the context of India's position in the changed and changing conditions of the world, the committee has suggested that the Policy Planning and Review Committee should be made a permanent body with the Secretary General as chairman. The need to strengthen the policy planning division with the necessary research staff has been stressed. Recognizing the paramount need to foster advancement of exports, the committee has urged the necessity of developing within the Foreign Service greater awareness and expertise in economic and commercial matters. With regard to distribution of work within the service, the committee is of the opinion that secretaries should devote more time to higher policy matters and that there should be greater delegation of responsibility to heads of divisions. The heads should preferably be joint secretaries according to the committee. The committee has said that information work is an indivisible part of the work of the Foreign Service and has urged that the service should develop expertise in this area of functions. It has accordingly suggested that those among Foreign Service personnel who show aptitude and promise should be provided opportunities for professional training in modern methods and techniques of public relations. So far as promotions in the service are concerned, the committee believes that efficiency and vitality cannot be maintained unless opportunities are opened up to outstanding men to rise faster than others and occupy senior and more responsible positions. The character role of officers has been suggested as a primary means to evaluate capacities and performance of officials. The committee has disapproved departmental tests and interviews for making selections for the posts of counselor and heads of mission and directors and above at the headquarters. It estimates that the Indian Foreign Service should be expanded to the extent of 500 in the next 10 years and has said that this would necessitate a recruitment of 15 per annum in the next 3 years and more thereafter through competitive examination and selection. The committee observes that execution of policies towards Western, Eastern and neighboring countries will also need diplomacy of the highest order.